Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Louise and I like to talk about all things auditions and being an actor and training and the industry and all things like that. So if you find this information valuable and you like this video, then just make sure that you subscribe, that you click like below, and you can comment and send me questions and all of that kind of stuff. It really just helps to get the word out there to more people and get that information in everybody's heads and ears and minds and all of that. So for this week, I thought I'd try something a little bit different. If you follow me on Instagram, then you'll know that I don't really post very much about myself and about my own kind of personal journey in terms of what it was like training as an actor and going out into the industry and all of that kind of stuff. So I thought I'd take this opportunity today to actually sit down and talk to you about my journey and how I went from training and how I navigated the industry. So I didn't really have a very straightforward path in terms of my career and where I went from training and into the industry. And I thought that it would be really beneficial to talk about this, especially for people who are kind of unsure about whether this is the right path for them or whether the way that they are going about it is correct or right, or what should be done and what shouldn't be done and all of this kind of stuff. Basically, your path is your path. And there is no one right way of doing things, and there's no one kind of foolproof way of gaining success in whatever way you kind of define that within this industry. I myself went through massive amounts of time with doubt and uncertainty and not knowing whether this was the right path for me or not. And if by me opening up about this can help at least one person, then that's a great thing. So like most people who want to be actors, I wanted to be an actor from a very, very young age and did kind of all of the school plays and all of that kind of stuff. And then I decided, okay, I want to go to drama school. So I applied and I was lucky enough to actually get accepted in my first year of applying. And I loved my training. I wouldn't change my training for the world. It was just a fantastic time, surrounded by fantastic people and just consistently working on projects, doing theatre, being part of an ensemble, stretching myself, being challenged, all of that kind of stuff. I was one of those people that just really, really enjoyed the process of training. So when it got to third year, things started to shift and change for me, in that it started to become much more about the industry and about selling yourself and about the kind of commercial aspect of being an actor. So a lot of your attention tended to be on things like headshots and applying to jobs and approaching agents and casting directors and selling yourself, and you basically became a commodity, and it stopped really being about the craft and the art of being an actor, and it started to be more of a case of I am, part of the capitalist sphere and all of this kind of stuff. And it just felt really off for me. And it wasn't from that kind of moral standpoint, it was more, I just got really scared. I got really scared of knowing that training was coming to an end and that kind of bubble of safety was going to be popped. I discovered that I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was selling. I didn't know how to kind of navigate the big bad world. I just knew that, okay, well, I wasn't in school anymore and I wasn't in drama school anymore. What am I? Where am I going? And it all became incredibly overwhelming. And it's something at the time that wasn't really spoken about. It was just kind of accepted that you train, you leave, you go and get work, and then you're an actor. And the overwhelm of feeling like you were then competing with the people that were in your year group, and not just them, you were competing with the other people who were graduating at the time and the other people who were already out in the industry. And then those kind of statistics of, only 2% of actors are in work in the acting industry within any kind of given month, or just ridiculous statistics that basically said that getting work as an actor is tough and the likelihood is it's not going to happen, at least for a little while, if you're lucky. The decision that the best course of action for me was to step away, was to actually just kind of quit acting altogether. And at the time I thought that was going to be me for life, that no, this isn't what I want anymore. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I don't like training anymore. I don't like being on stage. And I just kind of abandoned everything that I'd kind of worked for the full 3 years. And not just that, everything that I'd kind of done up until that point as well. And it was all from this place of fear and feeling that I just didn't want to be part of this industry that seemed like all it was going to do was going to chew me up and spit me out. And I think it's really good to recognize that it was fear orientated, that I refused to try, because if I tried and I failed, then that would be a lot worse than not trying at all. So actually kind of running away and doing something else, I protected myself and safeguarded myself against potential failure and rejection and feeling like I just couldn't do it. And I see it sometimes with my students and with people in general that, well, if I don't try, then I don't have to fail, and if I don't fail, then it means that I'm not bad at it, because we don't know. We don't know if I am good, we don't know if I am bad, but it's okay because I won't try. If I don't put the effort in, then I can't fail, because if I put the effort in and fail, then it's a heck of a lot worse. And the funny thing is that when I was graduating, I actually had agent offers. I had people that wanted to represent me at the time that I just turned down and didn't pursue any further. But I said, no, I made that decision, so I'm not going to do that anymore. And I went away and I became a camera assistant. I actually trained on film sets, on feature films and TV dramas and commercials, and it was a whole new kind of environment of training and of learning, and it was the thing that I really liked doing. I liked to learn. I liked to be in an environment where I basically was off the hook, where I was off the hook in terms of, well, I'm brand new to this, I don't know what I'm doing, so you have to kind of go easy on me. So I wasn't held to a very high standard in terms of the work that I was producing, because I was learning, so I was able to fail, and for that failure to not have any repercussions. And I enjoyed camera assisting for a little while. It was great. It was a new learning environment, new people, a completely different way of working. It was great. And then eventually I kind of discovered, no, this isn't for me. I'm not technically minded, there's no kind of room for creativity, which is what I was kind of yearning. And then I had this massive bout of regret of just kind of going, I've wasted so much time. By this point I had been camera sitting for about maybe 5 years, and I thought, I've completely missed the boat on this one. I'm never going to get those 5 years back, and the regret again was as overwhelming as that pressure that I was feeling at the end of third year. That idea that I'd kind of thrown so much opportunity and work and time out the window because I was scared, because I kind of refused to jump over the cliff and actually take that risk and pursue the career that I wanted to do. I was just scared. And I remember speaking to a friend at the time thinking, look, I'm wanting to go back into acting, having been out for 5 years. You know, I'm not fresh out of a showcase. I don't have any agent representation. I don't have any credits for the past 5 years. I don't have a CV. I don't have a spotlight page. I had nothing at that point. And I remember my friend kind of giving this amazing advice, which was, make sure you treat it like a business. And something kind of clicked for me then, of thinking, oh my God, of course, because this regret and the overwhelm and the fear that was going on was basically that I was not able to separate my identity as a person away from my capabilities as an actor, or the success that I was gaining as an actor. That actually those two things are completely separate. And at the time I was thinking, well, if I don't have an agent, then I'm not successful. If I'm not getting a job, then I'm not successful. If I'm not doing this, then I'm not successful. We live in a very kind of productivity and results-based culture where you aren't worth anything unless you are demonstrating some level of success. When in fact with this industry, so much of it is about rejection and consistency and still kind of ploughing on. And it's something that I just wasn't accustomed to at the time. So being advised to make sure that I was treating it like a business, like you would treat any other kind of freelance business, that it isn't part of your identity, it is your work, it is your job. And it's something that you're able to put away at the end of the day and then continue with friends and family and know that you still have worth as a person. It also meant, though, that I had to treat the way that I was going to then navigate the industry from a business-minded point of view. That meant that I had to have some kind of objectivity in the way that I was approaching my headshots, my agent choices, the work that I wanted to do, the way that I was actually kind of representing myself within the industry. And after kind of 5 years of being out and not training anymore and being in the big wide world, I felt more equipped to be able to do that. So then came the time of me trying to kind of claw my way back into the industry, as I like to say. It's a lot harder getting back into the industry having not come fresh out of a showcase or fresh out of graduation than it is just graduating. It's tough, but it is not impossible. So I started off by going, okay, well, I need to get representation, but it's that kind of never-ending cycle of, in order to get representation, then you have to be in a show, but to get into a show, you have to have an agent that will get you in the door for an audition. So it became this kind of, it felt like lots of doors were closed to me. So then I turned, like lots of people did, to kind of online websites, like casting websites and things like that, where you were able to find student films that weren't going to pay you anything, but you might get a little bit of footage, or profit share shows at fringe theatres that you could potentially invite people to. So I ended up doing that. I ended up doing some shows that were a little bit suspect, shall we say, in order to kind of get myself exercising those acting muscles again, getting in front of an audience again, working as an ensemble again, and just using that as an excuse to actually contact industry professionals, to get people to come and see my work, to get casting directors to come and see my work, to potentially sign with an agent, or at least to just have a new credit on my CV so that I can approach Spotlight and get a Spotlight page again, so that I'm visible within the industry. And I eventually signed with a cooperative agency, and for a time I was able to actually kind of get some steady auditions coming through, commercials and bits and pieces, but it was very, very kind of slow going. So again, thinking I need to treat this like a business. So what does a business need? And I needed credits, I needed evidence that I could act, I needed evidence that I was employable. The thing is, no one was willing to employ me. So I employed myself. What I did was I wrote and produced a short film and placed myself as the lead in it so that I had some show reel material. What I did was produce and star in a one-woman show that I put on at a fringe theatre that I could invite people to. Because there were no opportunities around me, I created some opportunities. And they really, really paid off. With the show reel material, I was able to put that on my Spotlight page and send that out to agents and send that out to casting directors. With the show that I did, I was able to invite industry professionals, and I got another job out of that. And from that job, I got another job. And the more and more I did this, the more and more I created these opportunities, the more and more confident I felt, and the more and more right I felt that I had going into an audition room. There was actually about 3 years non-stop where the only money that I was earning was from acting, which was the dream of mine before I went to drama school. And it took me having to go through all of that as a journey to actually reconnect with my original why. Why am I doing this? And although my journey doesn't look the same as the other people that graduated alongside me, or anybody that is graduating right now, I know that the choices that I made, although some of them were made out of fear, they were still learning opportunities for me. So what did I actually learn? What were the learning opportunities throughout that kind of big journey that can really help you? Why am I telling you this story? What did I learn? So, the first thing that I learned was the fact that this is a business. So the brilliant advice that I was given when I wanted to kind of get back into the industry. It's a business. It is not you as a person. To learn to actually be able to separate those two things so that you are not linking your identity as a human into whether you are gaining work or finding success, whatever that is deemed to be. That those two things are separate, and you can actually have a fulfilling life and have value as a human without knowing what your next job is. Treating it like a business also means that I learned to be objective about how I was presenting myself within the industry and putting my best foot forward, and it not being such a personal thing. I also learned that this is scary. It is scary, but it is doable. To be an actor is to be vulnerable, to put yourself out there, and it is not comfortable. But without putting yourself out there, you're not going to be putting yourself in the path of opportunities to meet people and do projects. So yeah, the fear is going to be there. It's not going to go away. And even now, and I graduated ages ago, the fear is still there. The fear of the unknown, the fear that you're just before you go into an audition room, the fear of kind of refreshing your emails and getting a no. The fear, the uncertainty, and the discomfort is always going to be there. But the question is, are you going to let that override everything else? Are you going to let that fear rule your choices? And actually, after much kind of analysis and reviewing everything for me, I realized that actually something that I learned was it's okay to quit. It's okay to step back, reassess, realign with what you want, and pursue that. At the time when I graduated, I did not want to act, and I didn't know it was fear-based, but I did know that I didn't want to do it anymore. And the thing is, I could have taken the agent offers and gone to auditions, but I know for a fact that I would have begrudged it, that I would have found it restrictive and unpleasant, and I would have been unhappy. So I actually took a step back and I reassessed, and I chose something that I thought in the moment was going to make me happy, and it did, until it didn't. And then when it didn't, I made a new decision. So you are able to quit. Quitting is such a dirty word, but it depends on the context in which you mean it. So I quit. I've quit several things, several times, and yet I'm here and I'm still making decisions that I know are benefiting me. You just gotta make sure that if you're gonna quit, you have to quit for a good reason, and that you're not quitting to get away from something, that you're quitting in order to go to something new. I also learned that you never miss a boat. What I mean by that is the regret that kind of consumed me at first when I decided, no, I want to go back to acting, of thinking, oh no, I let down agent offers and I didn't take this, and where could I have been by now? That regret of thinking, all of that wasted opportunity. But in the end, that agent wasn't supposed to be my agent. The jobs that other people were getting weren't for me, they were for them. So knowing that the opportunities that were meant for me were always going to be there. And that with this industry especially, there are always new opportunities coming thick and fast. So you get a no from that job, that's okay, because the next job is coming. With the exception of COVID, when everything just kind of shut down forever, there are always new projects, there are always new shows and new productions and new opportunities and new people to meet. It's a kind of never-ending cycle of opportunity. So actually thinking about it from more of an abundance mindset instead of a scarcity mindset, of that there are actually opportunities all around me, and some are meant for me and others aren't. I also learned that you have to create your own opportunities. So I produced shows and I produced short films for my own benefit because nobody else was giving me the opportunity at the time. And that really, really benefited me. And sometimes you can't wait around for somebody to give you a yes. You have to give yourself a yes, and you actually have to kind of take yourself out of your comfort zone, put everything on the line and say, okay, I'm going to create something for myself to kind of propel myself into the industry further. And they're scary and they're time consuming and they push you into a vulnerable place because you're saying, hey, this is who I am as a creative. But would you rather that or not doing anything at all? I also learned that consistency is key. To stay consistent in your pursuit of those goals. It's not enough to kind of just approach one agent with one email one time and then leave it for 3 months. You have to be consistently pursuing your goals in whatever way that is, whether that is approaching industry professionals, going to the theatre, knowing what is on, contacting people to try and get your face in for auditions, getting new headshots, pursuing training, getting coaching, practicing your self-taping technique. Whatever that is, you need to be consistently moving the needle forward every single day in pursuit of your goal. Without that level of consistency, you don't get any traction. Without any traction, you don't get any results. And last but not least, a thing that I learned through this whole process is the fact that you can be employed one day and unemployed the next. This is such a kind of flux-based, kind of unpredictable, unreliable industry that we work in. It is oversaturated, it is crowded, it can be cutthroat at times, and it can be absolutely sublime the next time. So never assume that just because you have a job now that you are going to consistently get a job. But also on the flip side, don't think that you're employed right now, therefore I'm always going to be unemployed. There are peaks and troughs to this industry. There are peaks and troughs to this career path. And that goes for applying for drama schools as well. You might have 1 year of auditioning at drama schools and get no result whatsoever, but that doesn't mean that the following year is going to be exactly the same. It also doesn't mean that if you have a bad audition one day, then it means that you're always going to audition badly. But on the flip side, you might have a good audition, and if you get kind of complacent, then guaranteed you're going to have a bad audition next time. And again, it's important to be able to kind of separate yourself away identity-wise from success so that you still have a real handle on who you are and the value of you as a person. This was a really, really fun video to shoot, so I hope that you enjoyed it and I hope you got some value from it. If you liked this video, if you found it valuable, then as always, just make sure that you click like, that you subscribe to this channel. It really just helps to open this information out to more people. But until next time, have a good one. Bye!